She wondered whether trust had ever really been there, or if he had simply thought she was too much of a wild woman. Jane Kilcher has been keeping a secret. For years, she stayed quiet about a discovery that shattered everything she believed about her marriage. She filmed seasons of Alaska, The Last Frontier, smiled for the cameras, and never said a word. But now, after hiding the truth for so long, Jane is finally speaking out. What she discovered about Atz Lee and why she buried it for years is something she has never fully revealed until now. And once you hear what she found, you'll understand why she waited so long to tell anyone. This is the story Jane Kilcher tried to keep hidden. Is it a rocky road? But now we're all going to be on the same page. July 23, 2023 started like any other summer day on the Kilcher homestead. The Alaskan sun hung high, offering one of those rare stretches of warmth that almost makes the brutal winters worth enduring. Jane woke up already knowing what she had to do. Even though every part of her resisted it, she reached for her phone and typed the words she had rehearsed in her mind for weeks. Lee is divorcing me and it is very unfortunate, but I cannot control it. I lost my best friend and it hurts. But I guess that is life. It won't stop me. Once the post went live, reactions poured in: shock, disbelief, support, anger. But what most people didn't know was that the announcement barely scratched the surface. I'm like over being disrespected and it's been a long time coming that I stand up for myself. The divorce wasn't sudden. It was the result of a discovery Jane had made years earlier, a secret she carried alone while pretending everything was fine. The marriage everyone believed in. For 17 years, Jane and Atz Lee had appeared to be one of reality television's strongest couples. They survived his devastating hiking accident in 2015 when he fell in Otter Cove, broke 26 bones, punctured both lungs, and nearly died. Jane carried the homestead, the family, and the weight of recovery while the cameras rolled, but this challenge wasn't physical. It was emotional. Just like it's really hard if you're a mom or married to somebody like you care more about other people. Like I wish it was me, not him. So it's just really devastating and no amount of toughness could prepare her for what she was about to endure. To understand the weight of what Jane discovered, you need to understand who she was before the Kilcher name. Jane was born on September 14, 1974 in Homer, Alaska. Before Atz Lee, she was a commercial fisherwoman who worked 20-hour days hauling heavy lines and nets. She had a daughter, Piper, from her first marriage. When that ended, Jane became a single mother without abandoning the demanding life she had chosen. When Jane and Atz Lee reconnected as adults, music bridged the years between them. Songs shared around a fire. His harmonica and guitar paired with her voice. They married on November 7, 2006 in a small ceremony near Homer. There's a lot of adrenaline with landing a fish. Nothing's guaranteed because they easily get off. Dang it. Maybe he's tighter than I thought. Jane brought critical skills to the homestead. She knew southern Alaska's waters intimately and could bring in enough fish each summer to sustain the entire family through winter. She earned her place through action, not title. On screen, their partnership looked unbreakable. In 2016, they renewed their vows on camera. Fans saw the image of a couple that thrived under pressure. But behind the scenes, the marriage was already cracking. The erosion started after Atz Lee's accident. Jane managed everything during his recovery: the homestead, the kids, his physical therapy. She expected closeness. Instead, Atz Lee pulled away. He started talking about building a cabin deeper in the wilderness, farther from the main homestead, farther from her. He told her he needed space to heal. He said he needed to live more authentically. When Jane said she wouldn't move out there, Atz Lee built the cabin anyway, alone. The cameras captured this as dramatic tension. Viewers saw Jane as the reluctant wife. What they didn't see was Jane's growing certainty that the cabin wasn't about wilderness living. It was about escape. She noticed his mood shifting without warning. Plans cancelled at the last minute. Times when he said he'd be in one place, but his truck was parked somewhere else. Jane had spent years reading currents and sensing danger on the water. Those same instincts told her something was deeply wrong. The discovery that changed everything then came the day she discovered the truth. The day everything changed. It is late afternoon in the fall of 2017. Jane stands in the kitchen of their cabin, wiping down the counter after a long day of processing fish. Her shoulders ache. Her hands smell like salmon. The house is quiet, almost too quiet. Atz Lee left hours ago to check on the new cabin site, the one he's been obsessed with building. I kept the bedroom and now I'm going to move it out 'cause it's going to be the perfect little guest cabin out in the woods at Canyon's edge. His phone sits on the counter plugged into the charger. He forgot it again. That keeps happening lately. The screen lights up with a notification, a message preview. Jane's hands stop moving. She stares at the words visible through the lock screen. Her stomach drops like she's missed a step on a staircase. She picks up the phone. Her fingers feel thick and clumsy as she swipes. The passcode is their anniversary. Of course it is. The messages scroll before her eyes. Intimate words she's never seen her husband write. Familiar patterns of conversation that have clearly been happening for months. Names, dates, details that make her head spin. Her chest tightens. She cannot breathe. The kitchen walls seem to close in around her. The smell of the fish on her hands turns her stomach. She reads the messages again, slower this time, hoping she misunderstood something. She didn't. Jane sets the phone down carefully, exactly where she found it. She aligns it precisely with the charger cord. Her hands won't stop shaking. Her throat is so dry she couldn't speak if she wanted to. She walks outside onto the porch and stares at the mountains. The late afternoon light paints them gold. It's beautiful. It's always beautiful here. She used to love this view. Now it just looks cold. 17 years, 2 decades of her life poured into this homestead, this family, this man. She gave up commercial fishing for him. She built her entire identity around being his partner. And the whole time she wasn't enough. The cold Alaskan wind cuts through her flannel shirt. She barely feels it. She stands there until the sun drops behind the peaks, until the temperature forces her back inside. When Atz Lee returns that evening, she says nothing. She serves dinner. She listens to him talk about the cabin progress. She goes through the motions like a woman sleepwalking through her own life. But inside, something has died. Jane later said that wasn't the moment she knew. It wasn't when she found the messages. It was when he came home and smiled at her like nothing was wrong. That's when she realized he'd been lying to her face for God knows how long. Years of silence. She chose to stay silent. First, Jane confronted Atz Lee. She showed him what she'd found. He denied, deflected, minimized. He told her she was reading too much into it. Jane told him she saw the messages. She saw what he wrote. His response was that she shouldn't have been looking at his phone. The conversation ended there. Jane pushed for counseling. Atz Lee attended a few sessions, then stopped going. Jane later explained that you can't make someone save a marriage if they've already decided to leave it. So she did the only thing she knew how to do. She endured. She showed up for filming. She smiled for the cameras. She talked about their partnership while carrying knowledge that made every word a performance. The show had become her prison and the image of her happy marriage was the lock, the hardest part was the isolation, when it starts getting closed and the tree starts moving and you start hearing it and creak and stuff. Really stay aware. The worst case scenario, ditch the chainsaw. Save yourself. I'm kind of starting to like you. Jane couldn't tell anyone in the Kilcher family what she'd discovered. They were his family first. She couldn't tell the producers. The show depended on their image as a couple. She couldn't even tell most of her friends. How do you explain that you're living a lie without blowing up your entire world? So she carried it alone. Day after day, season after season, smile after smile, the toll was devastating. Jane started experiencing anxiety she'd never felt before. The woman who could face down Alaska's deadliest conditions, who'd survived storms on the Bering Sea that would break most people, found herself unable to sleep. Her mind raced through scenarios and what-ifs. She questioned her own judgment. Had she missed signs earlier? Was she overreacting? She wasn't overreacting. She was surviving, but survival was exhausting her in ways the Alaskan wilderness never had. By late 2022, Jane started spending more time away. She joined Emily Riedel on Bering Sea Gold. Being on the water again felt like coming home to herself, and she was testing what it felt like to be Jane Kilcher, not Jane and Atz Lee Kilcher. And what she discovered was that she was stronger on her own than she'd been in years. By 2023, she was spending significant time in Nome, creating distance from the homestead. She stopped mentioning Atz Lee in her posts. People noticed but didn't understand why. Finally speaking out. What finally pushed Jane to go public was learning that Atz Lee was planning to file for divorce himself. She could either wait for it to happen to her or she could announce it on her own terms. Jane had never been someone who waited for life to happen to her. The response to her post was overwhelming. Thousands of comments poured in. What surprised her was how many people shared their own stories of betrayal. Jane said she realized that by being honest about her pain, she was giving other people permission to be honest about theirs. That was unexpectedly healing. In August of 2023, another blow hit. Willow, her Alaskan Malamute who'd been with her for 12 years, passed away. The dog had been her constant companion through the darkest years of her marriage. But Jane refused to break. By November of 2023, she posted a Halloween photo with a single-word caption, "Single." It was defiant, unapologetic. A signal that she was embracing her new identity rather than mourning what she'd lost. As of now, Jane Kilcher is building a life that looks nothing like the one she shared with Atz Lee. She splits her time between Nome and wherever her work takes her. She's no longer tied to the Kilcher homestead, no longer defined by her role as someone's wife. The divorce has been finalized. Atz Lee remains largely silent about it. Jane has been more open, sharing her journey forward. Jane said what she learned is that you can't love someone enough to make them honest. She spent years trying to save something that was already dead. The discovery she made wasn't the end of her marriage. It was proof that her marriage had ended long before she was willing to admit it. Her work on Bering Sea Gold has reconnected her to the commercial fishing identity she'd set aside for the homestead. Few things I learned so far is that nothing has changed in 100 years and everybody that's out here mining ain't crazy. Being back on the water with Emily and the crew has reminded her who she was before she became a Kilcher. The woman who could captain a boat through dangerous waters. The woman who didn't need anyone else to define her worth. Jane's relationship with her children remains her priority. Both Piper and Atz Jr. are adults now making their own way in the world. She's navigated the divorce in a way that protects them while modeling resilience. She's shown them that discovering the worst truth about someone you love doesn't have to destroy you. Looking back at the discovery that started everything, the messages she found on that quiet afternoon when her entire world shifted, Jane has no regret about finally telling the truth. was the divorce what she wanted? No. She's been clear that Atz Lee initiated it, that it wasn't her choice. But was it the right outcome? Absolutely. Staying would have meant continuing to live a lie. And Jane Kilcher was never built for pretending. Jane reflected that the discovery she made didn't end her marriage. It just showed her the marriage she thought she had never really existed. The man she loved, the partnership she believed in, it was all built on a lie. And once you see that truth, you can't unsee it. You can only decide what to do next. Jane Kilcher spent years hiding what she discovered. She protected her marriage, her family, her image, even as the secret destroyed her from within. She played the role everyone expected while dying inside, but in the end, the truth demanded to be told. The woman who finally spoke out isn't bitter. She isn't broken. She's freed. She's back on the water doing the work she was born to do. She's surrounded by people who value her for who she is, not for the name she married into. She's building a life that belongs entirely to her, and after everything she endured, after years of silence and hiding, Jane Kilcher is finally moving forward on her own terms.